The obsidian dais, vast and cold, hummed with a barely perceptible energy. Around it, the grand conclave of the Krill pulsed with nervous anticipation. 10 figures, each representing a cardinal direction and a dominant caste, stood in silent vigil, their multifaceted eyes reflecting the flickering holographic projections that danced in the chamber's heart. These projections, sourced from deep space scout vessels, depicted the same anomaly, a region of space once empty, now shimmering with an unnatural distortion, a place where the very fabric of reality seemed to fray, a place they now knew as human space. The Grand Artificer, Xyler, spoke first, his voice a low, resonant drone that echoed through the chamber. The readings are consistent. The energy signatures are unprecedented. Nothing in our databanks matches this level of localized dimensional manipulation. His chitinous carapace, usually gleaming with polished pride, appeared dull, almost shadowed by the weight of his words. They call it a quantum entanglement field, a term we have only encountered in the most theoretical of astrophysics tomes. The grand strategist, Zorgan, shifted impatiently, his mandibles clicking together in a subtle display of annoyance. Theoretical artificer. We are facing a potential incursion, not a scholarly debate. What is the tactical assessment? Zorgan's caste had always valued pragmatism above all else. While Xyler was concerned with understanding the universe, Zorgan was concerned with controlling it. Tactical assessment is limited, Xyler admitted, a flicker of something akin to frustration crossing his eyes. Our probes cannot penetrate the field, sensor readings are garbled. It is as if they actively interfere with our technology, rendering our scans useless. A ripple of unease spread through the conclave. The Krill prided themselves on their mastery of technology. Their empire, spanning dozens of star systems, was built on a foundation of meticulous data analysis and unwavering technological superiority. To be confronted with something they could not understand, something that actively defied their sensors, was a blow to their collective ego. The Grand Diplomat, Lyra intervened, her voice smooth and calming. Perhaps, strategist, we are approaching this with the wrong perspective. Hostility is not always the most effective solution. Perhaps these humans are simply unaware of our presence. Perhaps communication is the key, Zorgan scoffed. Communication with beings who possess such unpredictable technology. They are an unknown quantity, Lyra. A variable we cannot control. That makes them a threat. Lyra remained unfazed. Every species is an unknown quantity, strategist, until we learn to understand them. Isolationism has never been the Krill way. Our empire was built on diplomacy, on understanding. To resort to aggression without first attempting communication would be a grave error, a betrayal of our core principles. The debate raged on for what felt like an eternity. Some, like Zorgan, argued for immediate military action, for establishing a perimeter around human space and preventing any further expansion. Others, like Lyra, advocated for a more cautious approach, for attempting to establish diplomatic contact and understanding the humans' intentions. Still others, like the Grand Historian, pondered what it meant that this unknown species had managed to master technologies that the Krill had only theorized about for millennia, giving rise to quiet anxieties about their assumed place in the galactic balance. The Grand Arbiter, Kale, remained silent throughout the debate, his gaze fixed on the holographic projections. Kale was the ultimate authority, the final voice on all matters of state. His decision would shape the Krill's future, determining whether they would embrace diplomacy or descend into war. Finally, after what felt like an age, Kale spoke, his voice deep and resonant, carrying the weight of centuries. "We will attempt communication." A collective sigh of relief swept through the conclave. War was a last resort, a path fraught with uncertainty and potential destruction. Diplomacy, while challenging, offered a chance for understanding, for coexistence. Lyra, Kale continued, turning his gaze towards the Grand Diplomat. You will lead the expedition. You will attempt to establish contact with these humans. You will ascertain their intentions, and you will report back to the conclave with your findings. Lyra bowed her head in acknowledgement. It will be done, Grand Arbiter. The chamber fell silent once more, the only sound the hum of the dais and the flickering of the holographic projections. As Lyra prepared for her mission, a sense of foreboding settled over the conclave. They were venturing into the unknown, into a realm of unpredictable technology and unfathomable intentions. They could only hope that their diplomatic efforts would be enough to avert a catastrophic conflict. For the shadow that human space cast was long and ominous, a silent question mark hanging over the Krill's future, daring them to venture deeper into the mystery. Lyra's ship, the Pathfinder Asterisk, was a vessel of peace, gleaming white armor covered in diplomatic seals. Her mission was not war but understanding. As the asterisk Pathfinder approached the quantum entanglement field, Lyra felt a prickle of unease. The field shimmered with an unnatural energy, distorting space and time around it. It was a barrier, but also an invitation. A silent challenge to cross the threshold and enter the unknown. "Prepare to enter the field," Lyra ordered, her voice calm and steady. The crew of the Pathfinder obeyed, their faces etched with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. They were pioneers venturing into uncharted territory. They were also diplomats, tasked with representing the Krill Empire to a new and unknown species. As the asterisk Pathfinder crossed the quantum entanglement field, the ship shuddered violently. Alarms blared, lights flickered, and the crew braced themselves for the unknown. The sensor readings went haywire, displaying incomprehensible data. "Report," Lyra demanded, her voice barely audible above the din. "We are through the field, Grand Diplomat," the ship's navigator reported, his voice trembling slightly. "But the sensors, they are useless. I cannot get a lock on anything." Lyra frowned. "Anything at all? Negative, Grand Diplomat. It is as if we are blind." Lyra took a deep breath, trying to calm her racing thoughts. They were alone in the heart of human space, with no way to see or communicate. They were utterly vulnerable. Suddenly, a voice crackled over the comm system. "Unidentified vessel, you have entered designated human space. State your intentions." The voice was unexpected, calm, almost bored, but with an underlying tone of steel that sent a shiver down Lyra's spine. It was a voice that commanded respect, a voice that brooked no argument, a human asterisk voice. Lyra composed herself, activating the ship's communication system. "This is the asterisk Pathfinder asterisk, representing the Krill Empire. We come in peace. We wish to establish diplomatic contact." There was a moment of silence, a long, pregnant pause that stretched on for what felt like an eternity. Then the voice responded. "Krill Empire, never heard of you. Stand by." The comm system went silent once more. Lyra and her crew waited, their hearts pounding in their chests. They had made contact, but they had no idea what to expect. Were the humans welcoming, hostile, or simply indifferent? After an agonizing wait, the voice returned. "Pathfinder asterisk, you are cleared to approach designated docking station Alpha 9. Follow the indicated vector. Any deviation will be considered an act of aggression." Lyra exhaled slowly. They were being allowed to proceed, but the terms were clear: obey or face the consequences. "Affirmative," Lyra responded. "We will follow the indicated vector." The Pathfinder turned, following the guidance provided by the humans. As they approached the designated docking station, Lyra saw it, a massive structure dwarfing even the largest Krill warships. It was a testament to human engineering, a symbol of their power. "Prepare for docking," Lyra ordered, "and be ready for anything." As the asterisk Pathfinder docked with the station, Lyra felt a sense of unease. They were entering the lion's den, placing themselves entirely at the mercy of the humans. But she knew that this was the only way to achieve her mission, the only way to understand the species that had so disrupted the Krill's carefully ordered universe. The docking clamps engaged, and the Pathfinder was secured. A hatch opened, revealing a corridor leading into the heart of the station. Lyra took a deep breath and stepped out of the ship, followed by her diplomatic team. They were met by a human. Tall, bipedal, with smooth skin and piercing eyes. The human was dressed in a simple uniform, but their presence radiated authority. This was no mere station attendant. This was someone of importance. "Welcome to human space," the human said, their voice devoid of emotion. "I am Commander Riker. I will be your escort. Follow me." Riker turned and walked down the corridor, his stride confident and purposeful. Lyra and her team followed, their hearts pounding in their chests. They were in human space, and their journey had only just begun. The corridor was pristine, sterile, and unnervingly quiet. As they walked, Lyra took in her surroundings. The technology was different from anything she had ever seen. More advanced, more efficient, more subtle. There were no exposed wires, no clunky machinery, just smooth surfaces and clean lines. It was as if the humans had somehow managed to integrate technology into the very fabric of their environment. Riker led them to a large chamber filled with humans working at consoles. The humans glanced up as Lyra and her team entered, their eyes filled with curiosity and suspicion. Lyra felt a wave of discomfort. She was used to being the one in control, the one in charge, but here she was an outsider, an alien in a strange and unfamiliar land. Riker stopped in front of a large screen. "This is where we will conduct our initial interview," he said, his voice flat. "Please be seated." Lyra and her team sat down at the table, their eyes fixed on the screen. After a moment, the screen flickered to life, displaying the image of another human. This human was older, with lines etched on their face and a stern expression. This was someone even more important than Riker. This was someone who held the power to decide their fate. "Welcome to human space," the human said, their voice cold and impersonal. "I am Admiral Zhao. I am in command of this sector. State your purpose." Lyra took a deep breath and began to speak. She explained the Krill Empire, their history, their culture, and their desire for peaceful coexistence. She emphasized their commitment to diplomacy and their willingness to learn from other species. Zhao listened in silence, his expression unreadable. When Lyra finished, he paused for a moment, then spoke. "We have reviewed your profile. Your species is known for its technological prowess and its expansionist tendencies. Why should we believe that your intentions are peaceful?" Lyra knew that this was the crucial moment, the moment that would determine whether the Krill and the humans would become allies or enemies. She had to convince Zhao that they were not a threat, that they were genuinely interested in establishing a mutually beneficial relationship. "Admiral Zhao," Lyra said, her voice firm and sincere, "we understand your skepticism, but we assure you our intentions are purely peaceful. We are not interested in conquest or domination. We are simply curious. We want to learn about your species, your culture, and your technology. We believe that by working together we can both benefit from each other's knowledge and experience." Zhao stared at Lyra for a long time, his eyes scrutinizing her every move. Finally, he spoke. "Very well. We will give you a chance to prove your sincerity. We will allow you to explore our space, to study our technology, and to interact with our people. But be warned, any sign of aggression, any attempt to deceive us, and we will not hesitate to defend ourselves." Lyra nodded. "We understand, Admiral. We will abide by your rules." Zhao nodded in return. "Good. Commander Riker will be your liaison. He will provide you with whatever assistance you need. The interview is concluded." The screen went blank, and Lyra and her team were left alone with Riker. The air was thick with tension, but Lyra felt a glimmer of hope. They had been given a chance. A chance to prove themselves to the humans and to forge a new path for the Krill Empire. As they explored human space, Lyra was constantly amazed by what she saw. The humans had mastered technologies that the Krill could only dream of. They had built massive space stations, sprawling cities, and advanced communication networks. They had even developed the ability to manipulate gravity and bend space-time. But what impressed Lyra most was the humans' culture. They were a species of explorers, of scientists, of artists, and of philosophers. They were constantly pushing the boundaries of knowledge, seeking to understand the universe and their place within it. Lyra spent weeks studying human technology, learning about their culture, and interacting with their people. She discovered that the humans were not the cold, emotionless beings that she had initially thought them to be. They were passionate, compassionate, and fiercely protective of their freedom. She learned that the quantum entanglement field, which the Krill had so greatly misunderstood, was not a weapon but a shield. It was designed to protect human space from outside threats, to allow them to develop in peace and security. As Lyra delved deeper into human society, she began to realize that the Krill had underestimated them. They had seen the humans as a technologically advanced species, but they had failed to recognize their true strength, their spirit. Their unwavering belief in the power of knowledge, of innovation, and of human connection. One day, Riker took Lyra to a hidden research facility, located deep within a human asteroid colony. He explained that this facility was dedicated to the study of extraterrestrial signals, to the search for other intelligent life in the universe. "We have been listening for decades," Riker said, his voice filled with a quiet determination, "hoping to find someone else out there. Someone to share our knowledge with, someone to learn from." As Lyra walked through the facility, she saw rows upon rows of listening devices, each tuned to a different frequency, searching for a sign, a signal, a message from beyond. She felt a sense of awe. The humans were not just interested in exploring the universe, they were interested in connecting with it. They were interested in finding their place in a larger cosmic community. Suddenly, an alarm blared. The lights flickered and the room filled with a sense of urgency. "What's happening?" Lyra asked, her voice filled with alarm. Riker's face was grim. "We've received a signal," he said. "A strong, coherent signal from outside the galaxy." Lyra's heart pounded in her chest. A signal from outside the galaxy. That was impossible, or at least it should have been. "Where is it coming from?" Lyra asked. Riker pointed to a screen. "The Andromeda Galaxy," he said. "From the direction of the M31 black hole." Lyra stared at the screen in disbelief. The M31 black hole was one of the most massive and mysterious objects in the universe. It was thought to be impossible for any signal to escape its gravitational pull. "What does the signal say?" Lyra asked. Riker paused for a moment, then spoke. "We're still deciphering it," he said, "but it appears to be a warning." A warning about what? Lyra's mind raced with possibilities. Was there a threat lurking outside the galaxy? A threat that the humans had been warned about? A threat that could endanger the entire galaxy? As the humans worked to decipher the signal, Lyra felt a growing sense of unease. She knew that whatever the warning was, it was something big, something that could change everything. Finally, after hours of frantic work, the humans cracked the code. They had deciphered the message. What does it say? Lyra asked, her voice trembling with anticipation. Riker looked at Lyra, his face pale. It says, he said, they are coming, prepare for the long night. The words hung in the air, heavy with dread. They are coming. Who were they? And what was the long night? Lyra knew that they had to find out. They had to understand the threat, and they had to prepare for it. The fate of the galaxy and perhaps the entire universe depended on it. Lyra contacted the Krill Grand Conclave, informing them of the signal and the warning. The Conclave was stunned by the news. They had never encountered anything like this before. We must prepare for war, Zorgan declared, his voice filled with urgency. We must mobilize our fleets and prepare to defend ourselves. Lyra disagreed. War is not the answer, she said. We do not know who they are or what they want. We cannot fight an enemy we do not understand. Then what do you propose? Zorgan demanded. We must work with the humans, Lyra said. They have been studying this signal for years. They may have some idea of who they are and what we can do to stop them. The Conclave debated Lyra's proposal for hours. Some, like Zorgan, were hesitant to trust the humans. They saw them as an unpredictable species, a potential threat to the Krill Empire. But others, like Lyra, believed that cooperation was the only way to survive. They argued that the threat was too great to face alone, and that they needed the humans' knowledge and technology to stand a chance. Finally, Kale spoke, his voice calm and decisive. We will work with the humans, he said. Lyra, you will lead the joint effort. You will coordinate our resources and work with the humans to understand the threat and develop a strategy to counter it. Lyra bowed her head in acknowledgement. It will be done, Grand Arbiter. Lyra and Riker worked tirelessly, coordinating the efforts of the Krill and the humans. They studied the signal, analyzed the data, and consulted with the best minds in both species. They learned that the signal had been sent by an ancient civilization, long extinct, who had been destroyed by a powerful and malevolent force. This force, known only as the Voidborn, was a cosmic entity that consumed entire galaxies, leaving behind only empty space. The long night was not a literal night, but a period of darkness and destruction, when the Voidborn would descend upon the galaxy and consume everything in their path. The ancient civilization had sent the signal as a warning to other intelligent species, hoping to give them a chance to prepare for the Voidborn's arrival. Lyra and Riker realized that they were facing an enemy unlike anything they had ever encountered before. The Voidborn were not simply a military threat. They were a cosmic force of nature, an unstoppable tide of destruction. To defeat them, they would need to unite all the intelligent species in the galaxy. They would need to combine their knowledge, their technology, and their strength. They would need to create a force that could stand against the Voidborn and protect the galaxy from the long night. Lyra and Riker began to reach out to other species, sharing their knowledge and warning them of the impending threat. Some species were skeptical, dismissing the warning as a hoax. But others listened, and they agreed to join the alliance. The Krill and the humans, along with their new allies, began to prepare for war. They built new ships, developed new weapons, and trained their soldiers. They knew that they were facing a formidable enemy, but they were determined to fight for their survival. As the Voidborn drew closer, Lyra and Riker stood together, watching the approaching darkness. They knew that the odds were stacked against them, but they refused to give up hope. We will not let them destroy us, Lyra said, her voice filled with determination. We will fight them to the end. Riker nodded. We will stand together, he said, and we will protect this galaxy. As the Voidborn arrived, the galaxy erupted in war. The Krill, the humans, and their allies fought bravely, but the Voidborn were relentless. They consumed entire planets, destroying everything in their path. Lyra and Riker led the defense, coordinating their forces and striking back at the Voidborn whenever they could. They suffered heavy losses, but they refused to give up. In the midst of the battle, Lyra discovered a hidden message within the ancient signal, a message that revealed a secret weapon, a weapon that could potentially destroy the Voidborn. The weapon was located on a remote planet, hidden within an ancient temple. Lyra and Riker knew that they had to reach the planet and retrieve the weapon. They gathered a small team and set out on a perilous journey to the planet. They faced countless obstacles, but they persevered. Finally, they reached the planet and entered the temple. Inside, they found the weapon, a device that could amplify the energy of a black hole, creating a massive explosion that could obliterate the Voidborn. But there was a catch. The weapon required a massive amount of energy to activate, and the only way to provide that energy was to sacrifice a sentient being. Lyra and Riker were faced with a terrible choice. They could sacrifice one of themselves to activate the weapon, or they could let the Voidborn destroy the galaxy. After a long and agonizing debate, Lyra made a decision. She would sacrifice herself. I am the Grand Diplomat, she said. It is my duty to protect my people even if it means sacrificing myself. Riker protested, but Lyra was adamant. she activated the weapon, and a massive surge of energy flowed through her body. With her last breath, she unleashed the weapon. The energy of the black hole was amplified, creating a massive explosion that ripped through the Voidborn fleet. The Voidborn were destroyed. The galaxy was saved. Riker and the surviving members of the Alliance mourned Lyra's sacrifice. They knew that she had given her life to protect them, and they would never forget her. In the aftermath of the war, the Krill, the humans, and their allies began to rebuild their societies. They learned from their mistakes and vowed to never let such a tragedy happen again. They formed a galactic federation, uniting all the intelligent species in the galaxy under a single banner. They dedicated themselves to peace, to cooperation, and to the pursuit of knowledge. And they never forgot the warning from the ancient civilization. They continued to monitor the outer reaches of the galaxy, searching for any sign of the Voidborn's return. But they also knew that they were not alone. They had each other. And together they could face any threat that the universe might throw their way. Centuries passed. The Galactic Federation prospered. The memory of the Voidborn faded into myth and legend, but the warning remained etched in the collective consciousness of the galaxy. One day, a new signal was detected, a signal from beyond the Andromeda galaxy, a signal that was stronger, more coherent than anything they had ever heard before. The signal was deciphered, and the message was clear. "We are coming," it said. "We have learned from your mistakes, and we will not be stopped." The galaxy trembled. The long night was coming, but this time they were ready. They had learned from the past. They had united under a single banner. And they had a new generation of heroes ready to defend the galaxy. Among them was a young human named Anya. She was a scientist, an explorer, and a diplomat. She had studied the history of the Voidborn, and she had learned from Lyra's sacrifice. Anya knew that the fate of the galaxy rested on her shoulders. She knew that she had to find a way to defeat the Voidborn once and for all. And she had a plan that was bold, audacious, and perhaps even insane. She would travel to the Andromeda galaxy. She would find the source of the Voidborn's power, and she would destroy it. Anya gathered a team of experts and set out on a perilous journey to the Andromeda galaxy. They faced countless challenges, but they persevered. Finally, they reached their destination, the M31 black hole, the heart of the Voidborn's power. Anya knew that she was taking a huge risk, but she also knew that she had no choice. She activated her plan. She unleashed a powerful energy weapon designed to disrupt the black hole's gravitational field. The weapon worked. The black hole destabilized, and a massive surge of energy erupted. The energy surged through the Andromeda galaxy, destroying the Voidborn's forces and severing their connection to the black hole. The Voidborn were defeated. The galaxy was saved. Anya and her team returned home, hailed as heroes. They had accomplished the impossible. They had destroyed the Voidborn and secured the galaxy's future. But Anya knew that the threat was not truly over. The Voidborn were a cosmic force of nature, and they would always be a threat. The galaxy could only hope that when the darkness returned, they would be ready. In the end, the legacy of the Krill and the humans, their unity and their sacrifices, became a beacon of hope for the entire galaxy. A reminder that even in the face of unimaginable darkness, courage, understanding, and cooperation could prevail. The journey through the long night had revealed not only the horrors of the cosmos, but also the extraordinary potential that lay within the diverse species of the Milky Way. And as Anya looked out at the stars, she knew that the future, though uncertain, was filled with possibility. The memory of Lyra and the words of warning would forever guide their path, a testament to the enduring power of hope in the face of cosmic dread.